Hi all, in this session we are going to learn about the various control flow mechanisms used in programming languages. There are various control flow mechanisms like sequencing, selection, iteration, procedural abstraction, recursion, exception handling, concurrency and non-determinism. We will see all these in detail. First let's understand what is a control flow. The control flow determines the order of execution of a program. Typically, the order of execution of a program is graphically represented using a flowchart. The flowchart represents the flow of control in a particular program, and the data flow diagram represents the flow of data in a particular program. So there are various different control flow mechanisms used in different programming languages. Let's understand all these concepts in detail. First one is sequencing. It is the most basic control flow mechanism. That is, here the statements are to be executed one after another in a specified order. Usually it is executed in the order in which they appear in the program text. The second one is selection statements. Depending on some runtime condition, a choice is to be made among two or more statements or expression is termed as selection statements. The most common selection statements used are if else, nested if, switch statements, etc. Selection is also referred as alternation statements in programming languages. Next is iteration. An iteration is a code segment which is repeatedly executed for a particular number of times until a certain runtime condition is true. That is, it is simply the loops that we used in programming languages. Iteration constructs include while loop, do while loop, for loop, etc. Next is procedural abstraction. It is a potentially complex collection of control constructs, that is a subroutine, which is encapsulated in a way that allows it to be treated as a single unit. Usually it can have parameters. Procedural abstraction is simply functions. Functions is a collection of various statements. It may contain selection statements, iteration statements, recursions, etc. So this collection of statements are treated as a single unit, and if we pass a parameter through the function, it will act accordingly. Next is recursion. Recursion is a function is calling itself. There are different types of recursion: head recursion, tail recursion, etc. We will learn all these concepts in detail. Next is concurrency. Executing two or more program fragments at the same time, either in parallel on separate processors or interleaved on a single process in a way that achieves the same effect. Achieving the feature concurrency is one of the main design aspects of modern programming languages. Next is exception handling and speculation. As we have already learned in Java, we can handle the unexpected errors or unexpected exceptions using try catch mechanism. This concept is called as exception handling. Any unexpected unwanted result should be treated properly in order to avoid the program failure. Next is non-determinism. There is no particular order for executing the statements. It will follow different orders based on different conditions. So non-determinism is not usually preferred in modern programming languages, as there is no particular order, so it will be difficult for debugging or finding out the errors in the program. So these are the various control flow mechanisms used in programming languages. Let's see sequencing in detail. Sequencing is the execution of statements one after another as they are appearing in the programming languages. A statement block is a block which groups multiple statements together. The statements that is written between an open curly bracket and a closing curly bracket in C, C++ and Java are considered as statement blocks. The keyword begin or end is used in Algol, Pascal and Modular programming languages to represent the statement block. In Python, we use a tab to represent the statement block. All the statements written in a particular tab section is considered as the single statement block. A basic block is a block where the only control flow allowed is sequencing. So if there is no selection, iteration, recursion or any other functions in a particular block, there is only sequential execution of statements in a particular code block, then it is considered as a basic block. Next is selection statements. Selection statements in most imperative languages employ some variant of the if, then, else notation. We are giving a condition. If the condition is true, it will execute a particular block of statements. If it is false, it will execute another particular block of statements. These true block and false block will not execute together for a particular condition. Either the true block or the false block will be executed. That is why it is called as selection statements. There is also another selection statement called switch statement. Switch is more efficient as the control is directly transmitted to the particular case statement which is matching with the switch variable. So here the case statement is meant to compute an address to which it jumps in a single instruction. So the control flow is transferred to the block where there is a matching case value. This is how a switch statement executes. So there will not be check for every case conditions in this switch statement. Instead of that, the direct jumping to the address that we need is done. In selection statements, the programming language follows two different types of evaluations: strict evaluation and short circuit evaluation. We will learn all those concepts in the next session. In the next session, we will learn about the other control flow mechanisms like iteration, recursion, exception handling, etc. in detail. Thank you.